Bosco and young people are an inseparable binomial. With you I am well, my life is to stay with you. He made young people his home, his reason for living, the secret of being a priest and teacher for young people, together with young people. He was a born leader. He offered so many lonely and abandoned children bread, a home, and a dignified means of living. But above all, he gave them the joy and sense of what life means, and plenty of hope. Asked many times to write down his educational method, Don Bosco tended to put up a screen. It was not easy for him to transform his entire life's experience into a written document. He would excuse himself saying, "I bring up my youngsters as my mother brought us up. I don't know how to do any more than that." This affirmation is staggeringly simple. Saints always express themselves in this way. Beneath the appearance of an apparently casual sentence lies an unexpected wealth. The expression is a rough stone, and we need to dig deeper to discover its true value. At first sight, this expression does not fully explain the educational system that Don Bosco inherited from other teachers and managed to transform into an authentic proposal of young sanctity. "11 years before he died, in March 1877, Don Bosco was almost obliged to write his thoughts down. The occasion was the solemn inauguration of the first Salesian house in France at Nizza. The French appreciated his opening speech, so Don Bosco took the opportunity to put pen to paper. He wanted to share the secret of his educational methods. He thought of publishing an illustrated book. He wrote and rewrote the text several times, but it was difficult to transmit over 40 years of experience on the field. He was eventually resigned to doing so. "I believe I must do so for the good of France." The result was 9 pages on the preventive system, a condensed work of pedagogic wisdom, a hymn of love and trusting young people, Don Bosco's profession of faith within the values of education. We will try to focus on the essentials, the cornerstones of Don Bosco's educational system. At a distance of more than 100 years, the preventive system still holds true to the program, the style, and the reality of a method that Don Bosco put together, made his own, and proposed to the young people of his time. It does not involve repeating what he did in the past, but it requires to do what Don Bosco would do today. Don Bosco did not create his educational system sitting at a desk. His desk was the streets of Turin, the market of the young labourers at Porta Palazzo who he went to find, the cells of various prisons where he went to visit prisoners, the fields of Valdocco invaded by over 400 boisterous youngsters, and the courtyards of his first oratory. These are the test sites of his pedagogic approach. His educational method is modern. It is liked because it speaks young people's language. It contains an enormous weight of empathy. It approaches young people's world with hope, without reserve. Do not look down on anything that comes from noble and just intentions. It is based above all on reason. It is not the cold and anonymous imposition of a code. It talks to young people, it listens to their anxieties, and it understands their needs. It places the child in first place. It listens to the child with interest. It shows the child trust. It is the method of true freedom. Don Bosco is convinced that there can only be an authentic education process where there is freedom and respect. Give full freedom to them to jump, run, and be as rowdy as they want. Gymnastics, music, expressing themselves, theatre and walks are an efficient means of obtaining discipline, as it benefits morality and health. This is what Don Bosco said in one of the famous 9 pages. In the last lines of his brief written composition, Don Bosco lets a little secret out which has an incredible value. For 40 years, I have been dealing with young people, and I recall that I have never used any form of punishment. The preventive system does not impose anything, but it proposes a great deal. It offers the vision of a healthy, integral humanism. It develops conscience. It prepares young people for the challenge of life. It motivates a sense of duty, work, and professional honesty. It expects a great deal, but offers much more in exchange. Don Bosco is above all a priest. Salesian education is essentially a religious education. He inherited a simple and robust faith. His relationship with God is that of a son. The Don Bosco that we know is a priest in love with the Eucharist, the confessor who spends hours welcoming young people to listen carefully to their sins and offer them precise indications for the development of their Christian lives. To his youngsters, many of which are alone or orphans, he points to the Madonna as immaculate and our help. His is a firm and serene piety without frills, composed of healthy joy, the fulfillment of one's duties, and of an apostolic courage among companions. The preventive system is a pedagogy of youthful sanctity, the passion for young people that pushed Don Bosco to give his whole life to their cause, is the passion for the kingdom. This is the pedagogy that took Domenico Savio to the heights of heroism, that shaped and forged Michele Margone, a boy who risked becoming a dangerous dropout on the streets, that inspired Laura Vicuña to offer herself for her mother's conversion, that convinced Seferino Namuncura to study and become a priest so he could help his people. Don Bosco was not always fully understood. We are in 1885. For 10 years, the Salesians have been working in South America, Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil. The frontiers spread. The field of work is immense. Worrying letters reach Turin, which for the sake of delicacy are not addressed to Don Bosco, but to a few superior majors. They are written by a young priest, secretary to Monsignor Cagliero. Basically, he writes that in a few cases, especially at Almagro, teaching is not carried out according to the preventive system, but a sort of rough pedagogy prevails involving corporal punishment. The news travels along the corridors of Valdocco and eventually reaches the ears of Don Bosco. Between the 6th and 14th of August, Don Bosco writes 3 letters, 3 small jewels of Salesian pedagogy, to Monsignor Cagliero, Don Costamagna, the director of Almagro, and to Don Tomatis. He avoids taking a hard position and prefers to offer advice. Use charity, patience, sweetness. Remember that the preventive system is made of us. He asks that each Salesian makes friends with all, be quick to forgive, but do not recall the things once they have been forgiven. Don Bosco, even though he is thousands of kilometers away, is still a father, but he feels the need to lead. He knows that his young congregation needs unity and stability, but he does not forget that the guarantee of his future lies in the faithfulness to the spirit of its origins, that is, the method and educational style which characterize life in Valdocco. Don Bodrato, the old teacher of Moronese, understood it well when he met Don Bosco in 1864. Having become a Salesian the year after, Don Bosco chose him as head of the second missionary expedition. Having become the inspector in Argentina, he wrote an affectionate letter to Don Bosco, moreover, without fear of confutation, that we live Don Bosco. Don Bosco did not invent the preventive system. He enriched it with his own characteristic, love. That is, human warmth, cordiality, and the family spirit. All the values he had learned from his mother, Mama Margarita. When he talks to his youngsters and when he writes to them, Don Bosco always uses the expression, "My dear children." Valdocco was a big family of which he felt he was the father. He repeated, "Call me father and you will make me happy." He wanted his Silesians to be loving fathers. It is a love that makes an educational presence, that offers stimuli. The oratory heart grows out of a meeting between the Silesian and young people. In this way, authority serves. Experience becomes a lesson for life. Love is a gift proposed and offered. On the 31st of December 1859, in the Good Night family chat, Don Bosco affirms, "For my part, I offer you all of myself. It is a paltry thing, but when I give you all, it means I keep nothing for myself. It is the last day of the year. It is the time to exchange presents. In the extreme poverty of Valdocco, Don Bosco does not offer material things. He simply offers himself. All of himself." Love becomes the principal foundation of all of Don Bosco's methodology, the central axis, an irreplaceable pedagogic law, familiarity with the flavor of paternal affection, with the perfume of home, a home for all of them. And his youngsters understood immediately the priest consecrated for their good. From simple receivers, they pass on to become enthusiastic protagonists. Many stay by his side. They are the first Silesians, priests and lay figures, loved and appreciated with the same fatherly heart. Towards the end of his life, Don Bosco begins to reread the dream he had as a child. The mysterious phrase uttered by that majestic lady, "In good time, you will understand," begins to make sense. The educational values in which he has always believed hold ground. The proof is right before him. His spiritual sons are working as heads of prestigious printing presses and as intrepid missionaries in Argentina. They do not delude their teacher. They are bearing ripe fruit. With Don Bosco, the pedagogy of love triumphs. It gives imagination to charity and spreads further than Italy and Europe with his message and inheritance. Da mi animas. My children, when you read these memoirs and I will no longer be among you, remember me as a father who has always loved you.